Welcome to Client Authentication Lab. This is Ashokan. First of all, let us understand what is client authentication. Client authentication in the sense the firewall, this particular firewall, once you configure client authentication, remembers the IP address of the client system, not the user or user credential. Though a user credential is required for the first time to log in or to get authenticated, if the client system 10.10, if somebody, maybe Smith from 10.10, accessed the service of 30.10 first of all, then the firewall remembers the IP address of the particular client, that is 10.10. And next time if somebody else is using this system, that particular person can go and access 30.10 directly without giving any credentials on the firewall. Otherwise the firewall will never ask any credential. So that is the behavior of client authentication system. But in the client authentication system, though the client is remembering the IP address, there are a lot of sign-on methods: manual sign-on method, partially automatic, fully automatic, agents only. The manual sign-on method is the default sign-on method, which requires a user to talk to the firewall, get himself authenticated. In two different ways you can talk to the firewall to get authenticate. One is the HTTP method at :900, that means the port number 900. The client system has to use his browser to talk to the firewall at port number 900, get himself authenticated. Another method is through the telnet also. One client system can get authenticated. He has to talk to 259 port number on the firewall. Let's see how this works. And before we go on, there are certain terminologies we need to understand, that is in-band services and out-of-band services. HTTP, FTP, telnet and rlogin, all these four services are known as authenticated services, otherwise known as in-band services. So whenever you hear in-band services, that means it is HTTP, FTP, telnet and rlogin as far as checkpoint firewall is concerned. All the other services comes under out-of-band service. So in-band service is HTTP, FTP, telnet, rlogin. Any other service is categorized under out-of-band services. There are other terminologies: transparent and non-transparent. Transparent in the sense, suppose this 10.10, a client system, this particular client system is accessing 30.10. In the user authentication we have seen that in the 10.10 we said 30.0.0.0, and then directly we can access this 30.10. When you access, the firewall comes up in between and asks the credentials, and you give the credentials, then you can access the server. So this particular client, the user at this particular client system will have every feeling that the other person, this particular system, is asking the credentials. It is pretended that way, and if at all you change the look and feel of the screen which the firewall gives for authentication, this person will think that the target system is asking the credentials. That's why the firewall is transparent to him. So non-transparent in the sense, the client system has to definitely talk to the firewall, get himself authenticated, only then he can access any service in the internet. That is what it is. Let's see the lab. I minimize this, go to checkpoint firewall, source and destination, source these three persons, any destination in the internet, services, say add, there is something authenticated services. If you authenticate the service, if you right click and edit, you will see that four services: FTP, HTTP, telnet and rlogin are there. You can even delete one. Telnet, if you don't want, you can remove it like that. So I close yes, I remove this authenticator. Now for the client authentication I need one in-band service, and you can even have FTP there. These two are in-band services, and one out-of-band service as well at port number 3389 remote desktop. This is not rlogin, this is a remote desktop protocol at port number 3389. I say OK, and this is also there in the service column. So the people who are listed in the group can access any destination for HTTP service, FTP service, these two in-band services, and one out-of-band service as well, because client authentication once you configured can be accessed for any services. I right click here and see edit. It is manual sign-on. Manual sign-on is the basic methodology. This we will discuss. Manual sign-on is the default sign-on method. I say OK and I install the policy.